So the Colts defense has been really good this year. They've had the best defense statistically in the league right now, allowing the least yards through the pass and the run, with 236 yards, 0.3. Now for passing yards individually, they've allowed the least passing yards through 4 games, 159.3 yards. Now rushing yards, they are not the league leader in allowing the least rushing yards, but they are fourth in the they are fourth in rushing yards with 77 yards allowed per game. That's pretty good. League leader is Pittsburgh with 54 rushing yards per game. But yeah, that's really good. Let's talk about some key players on this Colts defense. First, let's talk about Darius Leonard, the All-Pro. What a season he's having. He has 27 total tackles, 17 solo tackles, and 10 tackles that were assisted. He's had 2 tackles for loss, and he's had 2 passes that he's knocked down. So he's been amazing this year. But that was pretty expected. Next thing I want to talk, it is pretty amazing. Let's appreciate that. But yeah, this is not really a breakout year from his breakout year was his rookie year, but he's been really good this year. Now let's get into DeForest Buckner, the guy they got with the 14th pick, or they traded the 49ers their 14th pick for DeForest Buckner. What a season he's had. 18 total tackles, 10 solo tackles, 8 assist tackles, 1.5 sacks, 9 sack yards. That 1 sack, or those 1.5 sack, led to -9 line of scrimmage for the offense, or the offense they were playing that day, and 3 tackles for loss. And he's also had 1 knocked pass down, which is pretty impressive. Now I want to talk about Xavier Rhodes, because he's a really interesting story. He was cut by the Vikings last year after his play kind of dipped down after those 2 Pro Bowl years with the Vikings. And it honestly seemed like he was kind of done. But he's come back this season and had a pretty good season through 4 games. He's had 5 passes that he's knocked down and 2 interceptions. That's pretty incredible. He's also had a touchdown that was a pick 6. So yeah, he's had a pretty incredible season so far. Now I want to talk about Julian Blackmon. He was the Colts' 3rd round pick in this year's draft, and he's had a pretty good season so far. He's had 5 passes that he's knocked down, 1 interception, and 4 solo tackles and 4 total tackles overall. He's had a really good season. He was injured in one of these games. He's only played 3 games so far, but he's been a pleasant surprise for this Colts defense. Now let's talk about his counterpart at the strong safety position. I believe it's strong safety. You got Kerry Wills, who's got 14 solo tackles, 4 assist tackles, and 17 tackles overall this season. He's also got a sack. That sack resulted in 6 yards, a loss of 6 yards for the opposing team. He's got 1 tackle for loss. He's got 1 pass that he's deflected, and an interception. What a season that he's having, and it's really tough. Especially with TJ Carey guarding one of your wide receivers. He's been amazing as well with the corner position. He's got 3 passes that were deflected and 2 interceptions. This defense is tough to beat, and it's definitely been huge in their victories so far. Our first game of the season, they let up 27 points, which is not great. The Jacksonville Jaguars threw for over 200, or they had over 200 total yards in that game, which is not great. But then, ever since then, they haven't allowed more than 11 points. And against Minnesota, they were able to have an easy win. Against the Jets, it was pretty easy. And then Chicago this previous week, it was a little bit of a battle, but I think that was more to the offense because they only scored 19 points. Now let's get a quick look. Can they make the playoffs? Let's see. One final stat before I go, can they make the playoffs or whatever? They've only had 56 points this season, which is lowest in the league. Pretty incredible stuff. I definitely do think this defense can continue its momentum and continue being this way, and I think they're going to be a dominant defense this season. Can they make the playoffs? Well, the Titans are 3-0 right now. They're not gonna play this week due to their game postponed till I think a couple weeks from now. So I think the bye week got changed or whatever. So it's gonna be a little bit of an uneven, like the Colts are gonna play more than one game with the Titans for a while. But that doesn't really matter. It looks like the Titans might win the division. The Colts are definitely in contention for the division and definitely win the wild card. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.